So we're going to take a tour of the building. We're going to tell you about it as we go. I think we'll start in the 600 wing. So one of the different things about the building is it was built in sections, right? So it wasn't the whole building built all at once. So down here is kind of this is called the new activity room. Okay, is that the new? No, it's the multi-purpose room. Excuse me, that's the multi-purpose room. Over here is the new activity room. So these are sort of indoor PE type classes and health classes and things. And then over here are our gymnasiums and the PEG performance structure. So I don't know how much you're familiar with the PEG system. Is anyone familiar with that at all? Well, when we did I was on the initial committee, and when we did the initial committee the first time, the first feasibility committee, PEG, the performance ensemble group, got a lot of play. So it's one of the things that the committee really appreciates. So this is where they perform.
And Joe, is it still the new activity room? How new is this?
This is the new activity room. So yeah, it's not very new. So this right here would represent a grade level meeting area, okay? When these bleachers come out, and then this is also the performance ensemble group stage, right? So when we have things like award ceremony for honor roll or things like that, that would take place here as an 8th grade or a 7th grade or a 6th grade. Now you think about if you have an ensemble group or a cast playing, right? Every single parent and maybe even a grandparent would like to come to that event. Well, they don't all fit. It's just not big enough. So that's one of the issues with this room. We barely fit a grade level in here. We certainly can't fit more than a grade level in here. A lot of times there's things happening on the floor. So back in the old days, we used to do the magazine drive. I don't know if you're familiar with those. That would always take place in this room, right? And it would be packed to the rafters. So you can see here, the flooring is not fantastic for PE, and it's really not a great place for meeting either. The acoustics aren't fantastic. 8th grade gets the bleachers, 7th grade gets scattered on the floor over there, and 6th grade gets scattered on the floor right here. So we've had a couple of different events that have taken place over the years where we have a guest speaker come in to talk about things. Racism is a big topic now. We've had someone that is going to engage with the students. So that person would have to engage with the whole school in this environment.
And this is where there's multiple PE classes happening.
Multiple PE classes, so you have to bring, the curtain goes across the gymnasium to separate. So you could have, 1, 2, 3 PE classes happening simultaneously. Okay, so if you're an 8th grader and you just had your band lesson in the band room right here, and now you have math class, right? So should we start our timer here? We're going to go to Mr. Budano's math class. So here we go. So a little bit more than 3.5 minutes for us just to walk straight out. Now, you have to go to your locker or go see something or go to the restroom or something like that, that becomes 5 minutes, right? So this is the 8th grade wing. All of these classes are connected by clusters. So for example, my teammates are Mrs. O'Rourke and Mr. Gauthier's classroom. So social studies, math, and language arts is right there. And then down the hall is another cluster, math, language arts, and social studies. Mr. Brown's classroom is on the end. And then here we have our 3rd cluster, 8-3, social studies, math, and language arts. And then at the end of the wing, we get into some other special programs. So we have some, they're regular sized classrooms, but they end up being teacher prep rooms for special education students, and different student processing rooms and things. So, if a student is having a difficult day and they need to go somewhere, this is where they get to go. It's not very private. It doesn't really, in terms of preserving dignity, I don't think it really meets that standard. Over here we have language, so our German teacher, that I think is French over there, and then Spanish right here. These teachers are shared with our high school, so they have to get from that classroom out to their car or down to their bicycle and then over to Concord High School to teach the other half of their day. This is the hottest part of the building, by far, obviously, 2nd floor. Thermometer was 85 degrees in my classroom. You know, so when I walked into school it was 80 degrees. By the time 9:30 rolled around, it was 85 degrees. So the French teacher, which is here, has an air conditioner. And the math teacher, Mrs. Barlow, here, has an air conditioner. And my classroom here does not have an air conditioner because you can't run these two air conditioners at the same time. So when I get to school at around 7 a.m., I turn on Mrs. Barlow's air conditioner and I put a fan in the doorway that connects our room, and I hope that it cools things down before the kids get here. At 10 o'clock, when the French teacher gets here, we shut Mrs. Barlow's air conditioner off and turn his on, and that stays off until noon, which is, of course, the warmest part of the day, right? So in preparation for that, they wired in, they did some new wiring, but they can only do it for a certain classroom. So we still have this every other classroom air conditioning mentality here. There's 3 rooms, and they're separated by a partition. Everything's locked.
All of them.
So again, in terms of where do we locate that program and why would we put it in the back corner of the building? You know, why does it have access to the main 100 wing field? Those are all questions that we would need to address in terms of, you know, again, dignity. You know, what's the best way to handle that? If that student needs to go to the restroom or is having some sort of, you know, wardrobe malfunction or something like that, the closest restroom is down the end of the 200 wing. So they'd have to go past all of these classrooms to get there, you know. This is mostly 7th grade, so this half of the hallway is 7th grade classes, and the other half of the hallway is the overflow for 6th grade classes. So if we talk about a new building, the idea would be to house our grade levels in independent areas, instead of having I think Miss Parent's classroom is down over there, and you teach 6th grade, correct?
6th grade,
Yeah.
yep.
So over here we have one of our science rooms. So I've been at Rundlett for over 14 years. This is my 14th season, so 14 years. So one year I was a math and science teacher, and this was my classroom. So it does have some sinks where Miss Parent teaches science in the 6th grade classroom without any sinks at all. So when you think about, and then once upon a time where we had science as, you know, earth science in 6th grade and life science in 7th grade and physical science in 8th grade, you know, the person that's teaching earth science doesn't have the appropriate, you know, equipment to do those types of hands-on learning activities, you know, like, you know, river systems or stream tables or those types of things. And then the 8th graders that had physical science did have the equipment. This is our greenhouse and a courtyard. You know, when we look at this, we think, oh, it's a pretty, you know, it's nice that a school has a greenhouse, but at the same time, this greenhouse is connected to this science class. So this teacher, Mr. Lane, has access from his classroom to the greenhouse, but Mr. Mosley over here does not, you know. And so one of the things that we did in 7th grade science was squid dissection. And you know, you do squid dissection in the spring and it's 72 degrees, you know, by afternoon things get pretty right. So we would do it in the courtyard there. But of course, in order to make that happen, now we're disrupting 1, 2, 3, 4 other classes while we're doing a squid dissection. You know how 7th graders are when they're dissecting a squid. They're going to be calm and quiet the whole time, right? Yeah. This is a storeroom for 7th grade science equipment, and the heating system in here doesn't have a shutoff. So in the wintertime, it's close to 90 degrees in this room most of the time because there's no way to shut the heat off. It just runs through there. This is another science classroom, but is used as a math classroom for 7th grade math class. And then here's the other 7th grade science class over here.
And then don't forget the 6th grade science storage is in between these 2 classrooms.
That's
So
right.
if I need something, I sometimes have to go in the middle of the class.
Yep.
Get it.
So just to give you a look of what our science classrooms look like, these are the burners that you were talking about. The Bunsen burner gas jets are there. And then these sinks, you know, you could look in the quality of the sink and the, you know, where the plumbing is. You know, when you teach in a room like this, I actually one summer made little wooden covers that would just fit in the sink, because otherwise everything gets chucked in the sink all the time and I'm constantly cleaning things out of the sink, you know, so that's just where things end up. You can see we have, you know, our showers, our safety shower, and then things like this. in our classroom that hasn't worked in probably, since I was in high school. So, we have these equipment that are not functioning and not working and not helpful. A lot of our equipment you can find still has the RJS or JRS, junior, Rundlett Junior High stuff on it. When you think about 300, 7th graders in motion or 8th graders in motion, these crossovers get pretty busy, When Miss Nazaka had this room, we took out a bunch of shelves for her because they were just not functioning. This is one of our laptop cabinets. I mean, not laptop. Are these laptops or Chromebooks? Yeah, Chromebook cabinets.
We received a grant last year to redo this. It used to be a computer lab. So Ms. Spitz, the tech integrator, and I were able to purchase new furniture and turn this into a recording studio and take out all the computers because now that we're one-to-one, it wasn't needed for that. So
I have 25 to 28 sometimes students in there. So if I wanted to do a weather report, which we've done before, and I wanted to send some students down, it's not like I can bring my class in here to watch what's happening. I have to have a certain amount of faith in the fact that the students are going to get from point A to point B, that Mrs. O'Brien is going to be there to receive them and is going to be free the whole time and supervise them. So, in middle school, you really want to have that 100% supervision. And when you have to make adjustments for the benefit of the curriculum, it's a risk-reward scenario that I don't think we need to really roll the dice on.
let's go that way. Because some of the new schools have a room like this off of media center, off the classrooms, but then a wall of windows so that you can more easily monitor students. But as you see, that room they're coming through is kind of in the back corner of the library. So unless I'm in it, I can't really monitor it. But this is the media center. So in the Makerspace lab over this way, that was another computer lab, and it is still a computer lab. It's used for impact testing for sports. But because we don't use the computers as much, we put them all around the edges and have turned it into a Makerspace lab where kids can tinker, and there's a Lego wall, and lots of different activities that are over here. We didn't have a ton of organized spaces for them, so.
They're really in disrepair. If we were to update them, there would have to be asbestos abatement, which would be really expensive. So this is the bathroom for this hallway and the 100 wing. So I would say over probably 300, 400 kids use these bathrooms regularly.
When you have a classroom like this, your partner teacher's there, you could see the noodles shoved under the temporary door here. This is a temporary, a removable wall, and the idea would be to open it up at certain times, when you wanted to group up the students. But of course, the wall doesn't work anymore.
And this is one of the biggest classrooms in the school. My
Right.
classroom is considerably smaller than this. It's in the 200 wing.
So when I first got here, this was my first classroom at Rundlett in 2006, and I was teaching math at the time, and there was no way to put up any work, so I made these,
Oh, that was you?
and they still get used, just to hang up posters or student work or any of that kind of stuff, because this is actually metal behind this thing, so you can't use push pins to hang things up, and you can see where the wall, so we try to keep things.
So two different classrooms, a temporary wall,
Thank you
and
to all of our guests joining the building this evening. We ask that you return to the multi-purpose room in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
then in addition to that, the sound, there's no sound barrier really, like between, so sound mitigation is like nothing. There's no
Right.
sound mitigation. So
Right.
what you're teaching here and what you're teaching over there, two different things, and yeah.
Exactly,
So
'cause
how do you
typically-
concentrate, or how do you do that in a sense of like being able to keep distraction away from?
Right.
Maybe there's a student that's sitting right here that can hear,
What's going on in
the
there,
teacher
absolutely, and
And they already have a hard time paying attention in here.
Exactly. And sometimes you want to do group work and it's just noisy.
Yeah.
You know, it just is. And so you just have to be aware of what's going on in your teammates' classroom all of the time, so that if you are gonna do one of those projects, you know, where things get out of control, well, not get out of control, but they get loud, you know, there's a lot of interaction, moving bodies, you know. It can't be on the day when someone's trying to do a test, or, you know, or have silent reading or something like that, right?
There's a
So
lot of coordination between.
just more, you know, it's not impossible, and I think that, you know, necessity is the mother of invention, and we've always worked it out, and this is what we have, and this is what we work with. But as we think about a new school and what our needs are, or what structure would enhance our education rather than detract from it, right? Obviously, the structure here is not helping us out.
No.
Yep. So, and like I said, this is the newer part of the building, so you can see, you know, things like this. You know, these are the newest cabinets in the building, and you know, you got to bring your own lock. So,
This actually has a ton of storage. My classroom
right,
doesn't have this. It's just a couple open shelves.
exactly. And you know, and a lot of times, especially in the spring when we're taking mass breaks, you know, an 8th grade classroom might take a mass break out on this field, and now the 6th grade classrooms are in class, you know. So when you got a bunch of 8th graders out there, you know, what does that look like? So, you know, really what is our space gonna be? Or if there's the girls' high school lacrosse team plays lacrosse here, and so when they have a game, you know, they're showing up at 2 o'clock, 2:15, and, you know, Rundlett's still got another hour of school left.
See them or greet them, and they have to come in the double doors and then go into here, and then there's another main entrance right in front of the media center, so it's unclear which one is the actual entrance. And for security purposes, both of them are not secure and don't have, there's not a clear right way in. And then when you get there, there's no one to greet you or to check to see why you're here, answer questions, and so it's not a good layout.
Right, and dismissals now take place out there. So the parent comes, they ring the bell, there's a camera, the administrative assistant gets the child, brings them out to the walkway, and then signs them out outside. And actually does work, so once upon a time that would happen. But you can just hear the acoustics, you know, in the cafeteria just with the fans going. You know, put 300 6th graders in here.